Have you ever wondered how the map of the United States came to look the way it does today? The answer to that question isn't as simple as you might think. In fact, it's a story steeped in controversy and heartbreak. In the year 1830, President Andrew Jackson made a decision that would forever change the lives of thousands of Native Americans. He signed the Indian Removal Act. This law granted the federal government power to uproot Native American tribes from their ancestral lands in the southeast and relocate them to areas west of the Mississippi River. Among the tribes affected were the Cherokee, Muskogee, Creek, Seminole, Chickasaw, and Choctaw. Each of these tribes had rich histories, cultures, and deep connections to the lands they inhabited. Yet they were forced to abandon their homes and embark on a journey into the unknown. Imagine the fear and uncertainty as these proud nations were forced to leave their ancestral homes. What would you do if you were forced to walk thousands of miles with little food, water, or shelter? Imagine being uprooted from your ancestral lands, made to trudge across unfamiliar terrain, driven by the relentless push of colonial expansion. This was the bleak reality faced by Native American tribes during the infamous March of Tears. Under the guise of progress, thousands of Cherokees, along with other tribes, were subjected to a grueling journey westward. The march was a cruel test of endurance as they braved the elements, battled disease, and confronted the gnawing pangs of hunger and thirst. They walked on, their spirits weighed down by the loss of their homes and the uncertainty of their future. The toll was devastatingly high. It's estimated that between 4,000 and 5,000 Cherokees perished during this ordeal. Their lives were claimed not just by the harsh conditions, but by the cruel hand of forced displacement. Such was the reality of the March of Tears, a journey etched in pain, suffering, and loss. How would you feel if you knew this was happening in your country? Imagine the outcry, the disbelief, the horror. The forced removal of Native American tribes was a contentious issue even in the era of the 1830s. The policy ignited heated debates among American leaders and citizens alike. Some deemed it inhumane and unjust, a blatant violation of the rights of the indigenous peoples. Yet the insatiable desire for land and the pressure to expand agricultural and slaveholding territories prevailed, silencing the voices of dissent. Across the Atlantic, in the corridors of power and the parlors of the educated in Europe, news of the Native American removal reached ears. The story was told, albeit not with the urgency or detail we expect of news today. America was watched closely, its every move scrutinized for its geopolitical implications. The removal of the native tribes was seen as a manifestation of American expansion and progress. Yet, it was also criticized for its overt cruelty and greed, a dark shadow cast over the shining promise of the New World. Fast forward to the present day, the March of Tears is viewed through a starkly different lens. It is widely condemned as an atrocity, an act of ethnic cleansing. Generations later, both within the United States and globally, we look back at this event as a tragic testament to the injustice committed against indigenous peoples. The story of the March of Tears is now taught in schools, remembered at commemorations, and discussed at educational events. The aim is not only to remember, but also to learn, to ensure that such tragedies are never repeated. The legacy of the March of Tears is a grim one, etched in the annals of history as a stark reminder of the consequences of colonialism, territorial expansion, and blatant disregard for the rights and lives of indigenous peoples. The March of Tears stands as a stark reminder of the consequences of colonialism, territorial expansion, and disregard for the rights and lives of indigenous peoples.